Hi ladies, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a video on how to create the best possible environment for your man to be able to fully express himself and to feel as safe around you as possible. So this is such a common problem that women experience, that they are in a relationship with a man that they deeply care about, but this man is not able to really open up his heart as much as she would like in order to really have that connection rooted in vulnerability and authenticity and empathy and compassion. And this can be really frustrating and very heartbreaking when you want to really connect on that level and he's just not able to for whatever reason. And so I firstly would just like to share my experience that when I started looking into feminine energy, this is one of the first really beautiful things that started to blossom for me, which is that I started to notice that men started to feel, I noticed they felt just a bit more relaxed in my company. I could feel that they were opening up a bit more to me and that they could really trust me. And I think that was a lot to do with the fact that I also felt more comfortable in my body. I started expressing myself from a place of authenticity. I stopped trying to control him. All these different things we're gonna talk about today, but there just became this very observable shift in their energy, and I felt like I was performing some kind of magic, like just by being in my feminine energy, which had a big impact for me and how I was feeling. But it was also shifting the energy of everybody around me, not just men, and not just in romantic situations. So I would like to also just acknowledge how upsetting this can be when you deeply care for somebody and you're not getting all your needs met. And I really want to acknowledge, that you're taking the time and the effort to seek a way through this in order to better your relationships, all your relationships in your lives. So yeah, this is unfortunately such a common issue in the world, and I think for many of us we were brought up in societies where the expression of emotion was just in general not all that accepted, but for men in particular it was very much suppressed. And so there's a real good reason why they don't feel safe to express themselves fully. And I think this is the cause of so many problems in the world, actually, is men not being able to express themselves in a healthy way. And I also don't believe that men should be expressing their emotions and feelings in the same way as women. I think that if our man came back from work and suddenly just started expressing as we would with our girlfriends, for example, I'm not sure that would be all that attractive. But there is feminine energy in all of us, including men, and there is a real opportunity for them to connect more with themselves through their relationship with us. And there is no reason why your man can't access these emotions again, because when we were babies, we expressed every single emotion unapologetically, and we didn't see the difference between good or bad emotion. That was taught to us as we grew older, and we were rewarded for certain emotions and punished for others. Rewarded for picking ourselves up when we fell over or we were upset about something, and for not crying. So my first point is, are you embodying the kind of vulnerability and authenticity that you would like to see in your man? So this means, in terms of feminine energy, being in your body and expressing from that place. So whether it be something as lovely as receiving a compliment, are you actually receiving it in your body and expressing from that place? Or are you brushing it off? I know that I used to, if someone would compliment me, I would always try to find something funny to say, or just to find a way to kind of give it back to them. So for example, I might say, oh no, I didn't wash my hair today, or I'm not really, I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, and I would just refuse to actually bring it into my body, or I would just simply say, oh, thanks, you too. So what I really try to do now is really, when someone gives me a compliment, and this could be from anybody, I really try to actually feel how that feels in my body and then express back to them. So for example, oh, that makes me feel really tingly, if that's to my man, or if it's just someone else, because feminine energy is something that we can practice with everybody. I might just say, oh, that just lights my heart up hearing this. And I would try to give them a compliment if I felt it in the moment when I feel it, rather than it just being this kind of like back and forth tit for tat thing. And so the expression of our emotions also is for more uncomfortable situations. So for example, if we have something that we'd like to bring up to our guy, or something that didn't make us feel very good, to express from that place of I feel really uncomfortable, I feel really sad, and then to get even more into the body and poetic, my heart feels really tight, my chest feels like it's burning, and my legs just want to run away, to really express from that place. And nothing else, nothing in terms of how he should fix it, because that's the masculine energy role, and also nothing personal to him, so to really keep it with the I statements. This is also very much connected to nonviolent communication. And also not to avoid how we're feeling. So for example, if we're not feeling great and somebody asks us, how are you, to really avoid just saying, I'm fine, unless it's really such a superficial social connection that it's really not appropriate to express anything. But I would always try to err on the side of expressing, I'm not feeling all that great today, but I'm feeling my way through it, and maybe we can talk later, for example. But also just to encourage you just to be honest about how you are feeling. First and foremost with yourself. This is what feminine energy is about. First and foremost, it's the connection that we have with ourselves. And when we can create that connection and then express that to our man, to everybody, we can then make deep connections with the people around us. So essentially we are modeling to our guy that it's safe. I feel safe with my emotions, and I know how to deal with my emotions. So another point is about emotional dumping. So instead of actually just in that moment where we're feeling maybe overwhelmed with an emotion, to maybe take ourselves away and deal with that emotion and come back when we're at least stable enough to express it in a healthy way that's not directed at him. So when he's able to see that we're able to do that, and it's safe to do that, he's much more likely to come out of his shell and reciprocate that. So things to note with this is really that a feminine energy, like I said, is about the connection with ourselves, and we're not doing it to manipulate the guy. Yes, we are very likely actually to get some positive results back from him, but it's really about the connection with ourselves. And of course everything can shift from around us when we shift our own energy, but we really aren't doing it to control anybody's behavior. And this is one of the main issues that I struggled with when I was in relationships, especially in my 20s, just being with men that allowed me to control so many situations. And actually, even though it was in a way what part of me wanted to feel in control, there were these other parts of me that actually just felt really safe having that control. So we really want to allow that man to feel the space to problem solve for himself, definitely, and also for the relationship as much as possible. So us women, we have grown up in this very masculine dominated world, so we have very strong masculine brains, and we are very quick thinking, and sometimes we can be a few steps ahead of the guy, and sometimes it means just actually sitting with the allowing him the space to come to a conclusion for himself, and maybe he's able to problem solve a certain situation in a much better way than we are able to. but it also means that he's stepping into that masculine space. We're leaning back into the feminine, and this makes him feel really good about himself, and this makes him connect that feeling of, I'm feeling really good when I'm with this woman. And we want to accept when he says no, and we really want to just have this sense of surrendering. And for me, this sense of surrendering comes first and foremost with the universe and with my connection with God, to accepting universal no's. And this will trickle through into the relationship with the guy. So by not controlling the situation, I'll give you an example actually. There was a few months ago, I was on a date and the guy was driving. He picked me up, and I noticed as we were driving that he didn't have his sat-nav on, and I knew that it was an area that he wasn't familiar with. I also wasn't particularly familiar with the area, and as we were driving to the restaurant, I noticed that he took a turn. I didn't know which like I say, I didn't know the area very well, but I saw the signpost was leading to the opposite direction. And I could feel this old urge in me coming up and saying, oh, I think you were supposed to go in the other way. I think we've taken the wrong turn. And I thought, no, just sit with it and allow him to come to that conclusion himself. And so we carried on the road for about 2 minutes, and then he just at one point just stopped the car, and he turned on his sat navigation, and he turned us around and he got us to the restaurant. And when we arrived, I expressed how grateful I was that he drove us here, that he got us here safely, and I could feel that he just felt really good in himself that he'd done that. And it seems like such a small thing, but in my experience with feminine energy, it is all these small things that we do daily that can either build our man up to step into his masculine more, or retract more into his feminine. And the other point I wanted to make was about reflections of feeling statements. So for example, when the man comes home from work and he's telling you about his day, so for example, maybe he had a bad day, got stuck in traffic, or he had some issues with his boss or something like that. Again, to resist the urge to problem solve, like, oh, why didn't you try this different route to work, or why don't you leave a bit earlier? But to actually just really be there with him in that moment. So, oh, that must have felt really frustrating to be late for work, and then to have this not very nice exchange with your boss again. Yeah, you must have felt really angry about that. And so to reflect these feelings back to him that he may not have even recognized and acknowledged in himself. And also to be aware that if he corrects you, now I wasn't angry, I was just, I was just frustrated. Okay, that must have felt really tiring to feel frustrated at work. To just go with him and ride the waves, because that's where you're connecting. And so what this does is that it actually enables him to have this feedback loop of someone acknowledging his emotions and feelings, and he can then actually register that in himself. And down the line, he may not then need somebody else to do that for him. And another way that you can encourage him to express himself is that when he does express himself in really small ways, to acknowledge it and say, thank you for sharing that. It feels really, really warm in my heart to hear that you feel that, or that you took the time to express that to me. And also if he shared something positive about his day, wow, that must have felt so exciting. To really be that, also that outlet for the range of emotions, because I have noticed, so one thing I've often really appreciated about guys is that they are very level when it comes to their emotions, and that's helped stabilize me a lot when my emotions have been slightly more up and down, and to the extremities. And sometimes the downside of that is that they don't get so affected by the the negative things, they don't bring them down, but it also means that they might not get as excited about things because you can't pick and choose your emotions. And so to be that outlet for him when, you know, when he's done something great, and, you know, to really express that positive emotion in a way that he might not be able to. So another point, very important point, is that this isn't meant to be used as a form of manipulation. So, like I say, as women, we can be very aware of how our emotions can be used to get our needs met. So I'll speak for myself. I'm a very deeply emotional person, and I cry quite a lot, and I am aware that by crying in front of a man, I am probably more likely to soften him to me if we're in an argument or something, or that he's more likely to meet my needs if I show this emotion. And so the thing is, it's a fine line between actually being aware that this emotion is coming up in me. I don't want to push it back down again, but I also want to be aware that this could have a knock-on effect. So I feel very okay about crying in front of my man, but I also will sometimes take myself away and say, you know, I just need to calm myself a minute, and I'm going to come back to the situation. And also what I really try and make a conscious effort to do now is that if there is a need underneath that emotion, to actually express it directly to the man, instead of kind of going around the houses and doing it in this more passive way that could be used as manipulation. And so the final thing I want to say is, I have a very good friend who always asks me, when I have an issue with somebody, with somebody in my life, are you trying to buy eggs from the hardware store? So what this means is, are you trying to get your needs met by somebody who just doesn't have that capacity? So one thing to say about that is, if you have certain emotional needs, to look around you in the relationships that you have in your life and to ask, okay, are these needs able to be met by my girlfriends, for example? But the second thing is that, like I say, everybody has somewhere inside of them the capacity to express the whole range of emotions. So I would really try to practice all these things I've mentioned in this video for 3 to 5 months before I would kind of accept that actually maybe this is just the capacity that this person is at. You know, he's really just showing me who he is. And then also to ask myself, is this actually a way of me avoiding a level of intimacy that I'm saying that I want, but actually maybe I don't want? Okay, so for example, I'm saying that I want to be in this deeply emotional, connected, vulnerable relationship, but then I've chosen somebody who is not able to give me that. So is there actually something in myself that actually is maybe scared of that level of depth with somebody? And to ask those questions to myself. And finally, if you've practiced all these things and those needs are still not being met by your man, the question is this a non-negotiable need? Like I say, is it something that you can actually spread out between other people in your life? Or is it really this essential that you get this need from this guy? Because at some point, we can do everything we can to move into our feminine and allow him the space to feel safe with us and to trust us enough to open up. But if he doesn't have it in him, then he doesn't have it in him. And maybe what would be a good way to actually get our needs met in terms of being in a relationship with a guy that's able to be vulnerable is to take a step back from that relationship, take space for ourselves to do the inner work, so that when we next are open to meeting somebody new, we're coming at it from an energy where we are able to be deeply vulnerable and authentic, and we're therefore going to attract somebody who has got that same frequency. So for example, if we are in a relationship with any relationship or friendship with somebody in our lives, and we're experiencing that they're maybe not being very clear and honest with us, and maybe kind of we feel like we have to read between the lines, a very quick and easy way to antidote that is to actually just be completely clear and direct with them. You know, when you say this, do you actually mean this, or do you mean something else? Can you please clarify that for me? So when we go into dating or relationship, when we have that really true and clear, open, vulnerable, soft heart, we are going to very quickly pick up on if someone isn't able to meet us there. And we can then decide if this is a suitable partner for us or not, because we've got that clarity within ourselves. So thank you for listening today. Please feel free to share any comments or questions, and I'll see you next time.